Welcome back to season 5 of Time to Change. I'm Chaser Forehand.
And I'm Dom Jones. We have some amazing conversations lined up from people doing the work. I'm excited for those and the change that it'll hopefully spark.
I can't wait to jump in. So let's get started.
I've got visual, if I may. I don't have a question, I have a statement that I want to
Sure,
tee
sure.
up. And then I would love for you to just riff off of whatever comes to mind from that statement. And the statement is, we have a bunch of leaders in a room, and all of us are great speakers. We speak with confidence, conviction, boldness.
Sure.
Communication is not a problem for us. And go.
Well, I think the first thing I'd say, Dom, is when I work with leaders, with people, almost everyone thinks that communication is about speaking. And what I would say is that the first and most significant part of communication is listening. Because any communication, irrespective of what it is, personally or organizationally, is a two-way street, right? Somebody's
Mm-hmm.
listening, someone's talking.
Mm-hmm.
So as a great leader, as a great communicator, the first thing you have to do is listen. Right? Listening is the most critical element. You have to understand your audience. You have to know what they're thinking. You have to know why they're thinking that. Um, and so, one of the things that I keep reading and seems to be stressed is, make your people feel heard. Right? This is a tagline. Make your people feel heard, and that's great, right? It really is, and I think you should make your people feel heard. But even more importantly than that, like, you don't want to just make them feel heard. You want to hear them.
Mm.
You want to really understand
Yeah.
what it is, they're talking about, where it is they're coming from. And that's only possible through listening and not talking, not speaking.
Mm.
There's always time to speak, but in order to be an effective leader, you have to be a great listener. And when you're working with your teams and people under you, 20 to 25% of your questions shouldn't have anything to do with work, right? It should have to do with who they are and what they're doing and where they are in their mind state, and
Mm.
how you can most effectively help them, because that 25% creates a large degree of bonding, large degree of trust.
Mm.
People will listen to you when they know, whoa, there's my power going out. Monsoon season over here in Goa. People will listen to you when they know you care, genuinely,
Mm.
right? So yes, communication has to do with your tone of voice and your body language, how you speak, how you stand, eye contact, all of those elements. But it also has to do with your ability to listen to somebody else. Because if you
Powerful.
understand them, then you can respond and you can work in a much better
Yeah.
way.
That's brilliant. I could tell you love what you do, and obviously you know what you're talking about. That was a slow, low pitch, and you knocked it out of the park. Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing
Thank you.
the importance of the listening aspect to be powerful and effective in communication.
I
Chasen,
love
I've
the,
got another question if you want to go.
no, if you have another question, go
Go
ahead.
for it, buddy. Go for it,
I
bro.
literally was just going to tag on to what you were saying in the fact that I think also as well, not just listening, but something that Vishwa has talked about in the past when we've been on other shows is that fact that your body language, the way you communicate through nonverbal means is really important. So I would love your we went we went from total darkness to all of a sudden he's Jesus, and I was
You were like, and now I'm back
I
to the
was
darkness again.
I am like, all right, an angel of light appeared. This I would love to know about how you feel nonverbal communication is important as well. So we talked about listening, and listening, I think, is actually, I agree with you. I think it's so much more important than how you communicate. But then I think, kind of second for me, and I'd love to know your opinion, is nonverbal communication.
Mm.
Well, I don't want to get the number wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's something like 87% of communication is nonverbal. It could be
Wow.
even higher than that. It's a staggering number, right? So we think of most of our communication as speaking, as talking. It's just not true. And the words we choose. I could uh, I could give you a sentence that is poorly structured, that has the wrong words in it, uh, and you would still know what. So if I said to you, if we had a situation, and I said, "Well, Jason, this situational conflagration must be amended," and I picked about 3 wrong words in there, but you'd know what I mean, right? So,
Mm,
but there's also times when you say something and it's extremely vague. With nonverbal communication, it's even worse. Um, in one way, we're not if people don't pay attention to nonverbal communication, right? But we're always giving a message. Do you have your arms crossed when somebody is listening? Right, that says something.
mhm,
Are you leaning forward because you're curious and interested? Are you leaning back? Because you're not really. Are you on your phone? Are you making eye contact? All of these things. What are you doing with your hands? Um, all of these things make a huge amount of difference, particularly the eye contact and your body language.
mm,
Are you tapping your feet? Are you, playing with something? Uh, in Tuesdays with Maury, Mitch Albom wrote about his professor who had passed on and some of the lessons he was giving him. He said that when he was in college at Brandeis under that professor during his group process class, they talked about paying attention. And at that time, he thought, this is ridiculous for a college course to be talking about how to pay attention. Later on, he thought it was the most important thing he had ever learned in college. And it's that idea of being completely present, right?
mm,
With your mind, with your body, with your heart. The fourth level of listening, generative listening, when you're entirely there and your body is there, your mind is there, your spirit is there. And the person who is speaking to you knows that the only thing on your mind is them, right? You're not thinking
mm,
about what you got to do later on in the week. You're not thinking about your car you got to get fixed, or the medication you got to pick up, or what are you going to do for your next podcast. You're listening to them. And people, when they feel that, they respond in wonderful ways. Like all of us,
mm.
when we feel heard, it changes our attitudes. And those are the kind of people, leaders that people have run through brick walls.
Wow, that's so well stated, and a lot of that speaks to me of the importance of our ability to be present in
Sure.
conversations and in the moment, which takes a lot to block out the noise to get there. So I appreciate you calling that out. Um, I
Absolutely.
love
It's not easy.
no,
I
no.
love too that he said something in there about people can seem like they're present
Hmm.
because they're paying attention, they're leaning in, they're looking at you, but here they're thinking about what I'm going to be doing afterwards. So there really is that,
Mm,
and not everybody picks up on it,
hmm,
but somewhere along the way, that you're not fully present for the people around you as a leader.
mm,
So I love that you touched on that because there is that next level. There is listening and active listening, and then there's like, I am fully present for this.
mm. If anyone
That's
wants a
exactly right.
master class in that, talk to a little child. They will call you out on the fact that you are not paying attention
Daddy,
to
you're
what.
not paying attention. You are not paying attention, Daddy.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard it and I've had to stop. You're right. You're right, son. I would love, Vishal, with your background and expertise, if we could talk a little bit about organizational communication for a moment. Um, One of the things, the dynamics I'm always fascinated by is in organizations, there's often the illusion of clear communication at the top. Here's what's important to us. Here's what we value. This is what we're going to accomplish for the year. And as you trickle throughout the organization, that message becomes so much more muddy and clouded. What I'm curious from your perspective, what are, as an expert in communication, what are some of the things you look for that are signals to you that an organization is having a difficult time communicating from top down?
It's a great question, Dom. I think the first one is, forget about talking to the leaders, right? Talking to the top. Talk to the quote unquote bottom, right?
Mm,
So I've used this statistic before, I believe, on a previous podcast, but 86% of employees and mid-level managers blame communication as a reason for failure on projects, for things being late, right? All those kinds of things. But if you were to talk to the top of most organizations, the C-suite, the senior leaders, and ask them how they are doing in communicating within their teams and organizations, they would all say they're doing great. Like just almost everybody thinks they communicate well. It's just not true. And the people you need to ask are the people where that message is supposed to be going and arriving to, and they'll tell you no. So one of the big challenges for lots of leaders when it comes to communication is like, strategic alignment, for instance, the why of your organization. As a leader, you founded it, you did this, you may feel it, know it inside and out. That doesn't mean that message is being passed through the range. And anyone knows, you're speaking with regards to your child a little bit earlier. Anyone knows that a child who knows why will do something much more easily and perform much better and be incentivized in a much different way than when the child doesn't know why, right? So it's the same thing with any of us. And so a leader who's not able to get that message all the way through the ranks, why are we doing this? Why is it important? What are our values? If it falls short, then performance, efficiency, effectiveness, interest, all fall short, and then a lot of detachment starts to take place. So I think one of the biggest ones is just being clear, being consistent with your message, right? If you talk about values and talk about everyone here is a family, right? Oh, it sounds great, but when there's problems, you don't treat them like family, right? If you micromanage, if you berate people, if you belittle people, if you don't, if you're not receptive to feedback, all of these things, if that's your idea of family, then I'm kind of sorry about your childhood, right? Because that's not how family works. So organizationally, as a lead, you have to be consistent with your message and what it is you do. Because at the end of the day, your employees, your teams, your leadership, they're all watching what you do, not listening to what you say, right? And if those two aren't in alignment, then you're always going to have problems.
I love that. This is like that game where you're all sitting in a circle and someone goes and whispers to the person on their left, and it goes all the way around. And what you whispered to the person, the very first person on the left, and what you get from the right when it gets all the way around to you are so totally different. This isn't about like, oh, I can't hear out of my left ear. Right? This is not about that. This is about, I just told you peanut butter is the best thing in the world, and it came back around and it was like, I love squash. Like, that's not like something happened in this circle. Like, I'm not sure, but I love that. This has been great having you on here. I'm gonna figure out a way to shine a light on you. God bless you. I love it that you're here and that you support in the way that you do. We keep catching him like at like 4:30 in the morning or 1 a.m. at night, or man, he just comes and he shows up, and I appreciate it so much. And I appreciate the work that you're doing with me and the work that you do with other people. This has been Time to Change. I am Chasen Forehand.
And I'm Dom Jones.
And you've been talking to Vishwa Prasanna. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.